This video explores little-known facts about Egyptian pyramid burials, from false doors and hidden passages to sacred mummification rituals, cosmic star alignments, and mysterious texts carved on the walls. You'll discover how pharaohs prepared for eternity, why workers were buried near the pyramids, and even the truth behind the so-called curse of the pharaohs. More than just tombs, the pyramids were powerful gateways to the afterlife. The story of pyramid burials begins long before the Great Pyramid of Giza. In the earliest times, pharaohs were buried in mastabas, flat, rectangular mud brick tombs. Over time, these mastabas evolved into the step pyramid of Djoser, built around 2600 BCE by the famous architect Imhotep. This was the first time stone was used to build such a structure. But here's what most people don't realize. Not all pyramids were meant to serve as tombs. Some were purely symbolic, built to represent the sacred mound of creation or to demonstrate the pharaoh's divine connection. Even today, archaeologists debate whether every pyramid was actually used as a burial site. When it came to protecting their tombs, Egyptian kings were extremely cautious. Tomb robbers were one of their greatest fears, and for good reason. Gold, jewelry, and treasures buried with the pharaoh were tempting targets. To prevent theft, engineers designed false passages, hidden chambers, and dead-end corridors inside pyramids. In the Great Pyramid, for example, the so-called Queen's Chamber may not have held a queen at all. It could have been a decoy to distract robbers from the real burial chamber. Some pyramids even had false doors carved into their walls. These weren't for humans, but for spirits, allowing the soul of the pharaoh to move between the world of the living and the afterlife. We often imagine pyramids stuffed with gold treasures, but that's only part of the story. Pharaohs were buried with all kinds of everyday items: food, jars of beer, perfumes, combs, clothes, even board games like Senet, one of the oldest known games in history. The Egyptians believed the afterlife was simply a continuation of earthly life, so the pharaoh would need the same comforts in eternity. One of the most curious items was the Shabti figurine, a small statue meant to magically transform into a servant who could work for the king in the afterlife. In a sense, the pharaoh never entered the afterlife alone. He carried his wealth, his tools, and his loyal servants with him. Of course, no pyramid burial was complete without mummification. This process took about 70 days and was deeply spiritual. The body was carefully dried using natron, a natural salt from the Nile Valley. Internal organs were removed and placed in canopic jars, each protected by one of the four sons of Horus. The brain was often pulled out through the nose and discarded. It was seen as unimportant, while the heart was left inside the body, believed to be the center of thought and emotion. The mummy was then wrapped in hundreds of layers of linen, with protective amulets placed between the wrappings. For the Egyptians, preserving the body wasn't about vanity. It was about ensuring the soul had a proper vessel in the afterlife. The Egyptians didn't just think about the tomb. They thought about the heavens. Many pyramids were built with precise astronomical alignments. Shafts inside the Great Pyramid point toward stars in Orion's belt and the North Star. This wasn't accidental. The Egyptians believed the pharaoh's soul would rise to the sky and join the gods among the stars. In their view, the pyramid wasn't only a tomb, but also a launch pad to the cosmos. One of the most fascinating discoveries inside pyramids is the pyramid texts. These are the oldest religious writings in the world, dating back over 4,000 years. Carved into the walls of burial chambers, they included spells, hymns, and magical instructions to guide the pharaoh's soul safely into the afterlife. Many of these texts later evolved into the more famous Book of the Dead. These inscriptions reveal just how much importance the Egyptians placed on preparing their king for the journey beyond death, not just with treasures but with words of power, Here's another surprising fact. Pyramid burial practices didn't only involve pharaohs. Archaeologists have found workers' cemeteries near the Great Pyramids of Giza. These workers weren't slaves, as often believed, but skilled laborers who were honored with simple burials near the monuments they helped build. Many were buried with bread, beer jars, and small offerings, showing that even the common people were thought to need provisions for the afterlife. These findings reveal that pyramid building wasn't just a royal project. It was a community effort, tied to a shared belief in eternity. The Egyptians also buried animals alongside humans. Sacred animals such as cats, falcons, bulls, and even crocodiles were buried in pyramid complexes. These animals were seen as guardians and companions for the afterlife. Cats symbolized protection, falcons represented the god Horus, and bulls were linked to strength and fertility. These burials remind us that for the Egyptians, the afterlife was a fully living world, filled not just with humans, but with animals, gods, and spirits. Each pyramid was part of a larger funerary complex, which included mortuary temples. These temples weren't just for burial. They were active centers of worship where priests performed daily rituals long after the pharaoh's death. Food, incense, and prayers were offered to nourish the king's spirit. Egyptians believed that the spirit consumed the essence of these offerings. In a way, the pyramid wasn't silent. It was a living place of ritual, with priests maintaining a connection between the dead king and the living world. Even today, we're still learning about pyramid burial practices. Modern scanning technologies have revealed mysterious voids and hidden chambers inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. Archaeologists are still unsure what lies inside. Could they be symbolic spaces, storage rooms, or perhaps untouched burial chambers? Whatever they are, they remind us that the pyramids still guard secrets waiting to be revealed, even after thousands of years. And of course, we can't forget the famous Curse of the Pharaohs. Popular stories claim that ancient kings placed magical curses on their tombs to punish anyone who disturbed them. But the truth is a little less supernatural. While some tombs did include warning inscriptions, most of the so-called curses were invented by modern writers. However, there is a scientific explanation. When tombs were opened after thousands of years, harmful bacteria and mold inside could make people sick. So while the curse wasn't magical, it was deadly enough. The pyramids are far more than stone monuments. They are eternal libraries of ancient beliefs, filled with false passages, sacred writings, cosmic alignments, animal companions, and hidden mysteries. To the Egyptians, death was not an end, but a beginning, a journey to the stars, prepared with care and devotion. So the next time you look at the pyramids rising from the desert sands, remember, they are not just tombs, but timeless gateways to eternity, whispering the secrets of a civilization that refused to let death have the final word.